A Gambian students' organization has reacted to the EU delegation to the Gambia over gay and lesbian rights. Sudanese health workers are collaborating with their Chinese counterparts to contain the spread of COVID-19. Tanzania has announced the reopening of schools as the number of coronavirus cases drops in the country. These and more stories coming on the world today. Hello, this is Africa TV. You are watching the World Today News Bulletin. I am Amadou Kante. Many thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. Now, the Federation of Gambia Muslim Students Organizations has argued that the pledge by the European Union to defend the rights of gay and lesbian in the Gambia goes in sharp contrast to the laws of the Gambia. On the 17th of May, the European Union in the Gambia posted on its Facebook page that one may not agree with someone's personal choices and preferences, but gay and lesbian Gambians are first and foremost Gambians. However, the Muslim Students Organization responded in a press release on Tuesday that the stance of the EU is against that the decriminalization of what is considered indecent and against the order of nature under the laws of the Gambia. The Federation of the Gambia Muslim Students Organization reminded the EU delegation in the Gambia that the people of the Gambia value their cultural and religious beliefs, and that the EU has no moral authority to preach them human rights and the rule of law in the direction of LGBT. Development there. Next, we head to Somalia because Somalia has become the first country in the Horn of Africa to declare locust infestation sweeping the region as a national emergency. The UN has been working closely with local authorities and partners to determine the most urgent needs of Somalians affected by floods. The WHO is engaged in supporting patients in all isolation centers, providing salaries to newly recruited health care workers. Details of that in this report.
Somalia has become the first country in the Horn of Africa to declare locust infestation sweeping the region as a national emergency. Representative of the World Health Organization, Dr. Mahmouda Ar-Rahman Malik, said Somalia is struggling with food as well as the invasion of Dajet locusts, putting pressure on the country's fragile health system.
Unless we are able to rapidly scale up our response operations, unless we get adequate funding from our donors, we will not be able to respond to this need of the government, and that window is closing very, very rapidly.
Funding gaps appeared in the area of case management, surveillance, and laboratory diagnosis, without which the response to COVID-19 will be hampered.
What we are seeing in Somalia, cases remain undiagnosed, undetected. The self-isolation measures, the quarantine measures are not working as efficiently as we expect these measures to work.
The World Health Organization is engaged in supporting patients in all isolation centers, providing salaries to newly recruited healthcare workers, and strengthening community mobilization and engagement. Since November last year, the United Nations has been working closely with local authorities and partners to determine the most urgent need of Somalians affected by food.
We are deploying shelter and non-food items, food items, as well as looking at the potential for infectious disease such as AWD, acute watery diarrhea, and cholera that often emerge during these times of floods.
According to the United Nations, flooding in central Somalia has affected nearly 1 million people, displacing about 400,000 people. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Aissatou Tamba.
And from the report there on the floods in Somalia, we come back home because the Gambia Transport Service Company said even though transport regulations are negatively affecting the industry, transport fares remain unchanged ever since the approval of tariff for the year 2020. During a press conference on Tuesday, the GTSC General Manager dispelled all allegations of wrongdoing under his management. More details in this report by Juldenjai Suare.
The general manager of the Gambia Transport Service Company has said that the fares at GTSC remain unchanged since the board approved tariff earlier this year. Speaking during a press conference, Sidi Kanyi responded to allegations making rounds on social media that the company was engaged in overloading and increment in transport fares. In May, the government of the Gambia reduced the price of fuel with hope that the cost in transport will either reduce or remain the same. Mr. Kanyi said that the National Transport Company has been operating at a very low revenue generation level since March because of the emergency regulations brought about to tackle the spread of COVID-19.
The allegations on social media compared to my statement just before that we are overcharging and we are overcrowding the buses. If we were overcharging and overcrowding, naturally you will expect a big boost in our revenue base. It wouldn't have been 25% of what we projected. It would have been at least either 90% or even above 100%. But the figures indicate that we are really complying with the regulation. So at the moment, we want to tell the public, the stakeholders, the authorities, ourselves, everybody that has interest in GTSC, that number one, our fares remain unchanged. We want to make that message very clear. Fares remain unchanged.
He further stated that GTSC is operating in full compliance to the 50% reduction in the number of passengers for every vehicle.
Number one, we ensure that we have less staff presence at the offices, and also our buses, we manage the passenger loads. Interestingly, we even adopted the 50% load requirement before the announcement. And we partnered with the Gambia Red Cross Society to ensure that our buses are fumigated and offices are also fumigated. And they went around at our own cost to all our depots countrywide to sensitize the public.
He appealed to the public to raise the alarm if they find a difference in figures in their buses, saying a copy of the tariff will be made available to passengers, which can serve as a guide for them. For iAfrica News, I am Juldenjai Suare.
And from that report there by Juldenjai, next we report on the U.S. matters because protesters still gathers in large numbers for the 8th night of the death of George Floyd, despite all restrictions imposed to stop the chaos. The U.S. President Donald Trump deployed military troops to protest zones on Tuesday after he made personal pledge to intervene where local authorities have failed. Sona Tunkara reports.
Protests and demonstrations in many cities in America and across other countries over the death of a 40-year-old George Floyd continues. The U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday deployed dozens of armed militaries to disperse the rioters after he threatened to take it up where local government authorities had failed.
I have strongly recommended to every governor to deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets. Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled. If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
An independent autopsy by Floyd family released on Monday found that the 40-year-old was killed by homicide caused by asphyxia. The investigation conducted by Dr. Alicia Wilson, Director of Autopsy and Forensic Service at the University of Michigan, and American physician Dr. Michelle M. Baden showed that a cut in blood and airflow to his brain caused the death of Floyd.
The autopsy shows that Mr. Floyd had no underlying medical problem that caused or contributed to his death. This is confirmed by information provided to Dr. Wilson and myself from the family.
The report ruled out the medical examination by Hennepin County, which ascribed the death of George Floyd to underlying conditions such as heart disease. Floyd's death has reignited a deep-rooted anger over racism and police brutality on African Americans. The 4 officers have so far been fired, and Derek Chauvin, who continuously kneeled on the neck of George Floyd, has been charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter. For iAfrica TV News, Sohna Tunkara.
From the report, the ongoing protest over the killing of George Floyd, an African-American. There, of course, we will take a short break and come back shortly with the remaining of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Badingol men be Gambia anin Gambia e bantala mbenga nyillon ko TRRC bala doko sallabang le kono andila doko be lori men kan wolen hadamadingol men na nyanto tinyata nyim banko kanjang kabirin July karo 1994 sangola kana January karo 2017 sangola woto momo yalon ko e mantorata nyi wato kono andi man futa TRRC follow pour que la kuma kan di safo me statement no ye fere ke ye futa TRRC ye la kuma kan di atariya nyama yo pour kana TRRC ye fen kenam pasoti kana futa je wala fen dépense pour ka futa TRRC ke la kuma kan di abe seyndile male barembe nyim fanan ko la ko pour ka statement no fanan di amanke ko momo yela kuma kan di TRRC ibelo la television o nyatole mobe jube wotude tele bulu ni laptop ka testify mobe yela moy mobe je iso kenole bar ni man lef wo fananna ise kuma kango dinole ayatra molke kango moy barete nyaada jela nindu man lef wo fananna ise sino inin commissional damma aliye kacha ayatra mote bole kalama andu nimme lefta kanyinke ise katoke yin telephone number kumandi pour ka TRRC sotono 7704988 7704988 wala 7415937 7415937 ala baraka mobe sadake TRRC dokot.
Welcome back. You are watching the World Today News Bulletin on iAfrica TV, and now to the rest of the stories. Now, Gambia's Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and Gambians Abroad has learned with regret the incident leading to the death of Mamadou Lamin Cisse, a 39-year-old Gambian, on Friday, 29th May in Atlanta in the United States of America. In a media release on Tuesday, the ministry said that the Gambian embassy in Washington, D.C. was tasked to engage relevant U.S. authorities, including the State Department, to seek transparent, credible, and objective investigation on the matter. The United States is currently in the center of criticism for racial discrimination resulting to the killings of minority groups, especially African Americans, by the police. Waves of protests have since the recent killing of George Floyd taken center stages across the U.S., urging for justice and to police brutality. And from that, next we head to Tanzania, because Tanzanian government has reopened schools as the number of coronavirus cases decreases in the country. Authorities are, however, cautious of the decision as the country nurses few more cases of the COVID-19. Some students have welcomed the government's move in anticipation of the challenges ahead of the continued shutdown of schools. Here is more details of that in this report.
Faith Mfangavo is all set and ready to go. She is one of many secondary school students returning to their institutions of learning. While she is relieved by this development, she's also anxious about what lies ahead.
I'm happy to be going back to school, though there's a little bit of pressure because we're going to sit for our exams in less than a month, which means there's going to be a lot of studying. But I believe that we're going to do well. We're going to make it.
Following claims of a reduction in the number of coronavirus patients in the country, the government is seeking to get things back to normal by reopening schools and colleges. In another part of Dar es Salaam, Irene Roby has already moved into her university's accommodations. She is confident in the measures taken by the institution to protect her from the coronavirus.
They have put in place temperature checks, hand sanitizers, and we have also been asked to wear masks at all times on campus. Larger classes have been broken into 2 or 3 smaller classes.
The government acknowledges that the coronavirus is still in the country. It is yet to give a definite date for the resumption of all schooling activities. For many students, the reopening of universities and secondary schools will be a step towards getting their lives back on track, beginning a journey towards achieving their educational goals amidst the COVID-19 pandemic.
From the report there in Tanzania, finally we head to Sudan and report on the COVID-19 matters because Chinese medical experts in Sudan are working with their counterparts in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic in the country. This African country has registered more than 5,000 cases since March this year, a reason for which China is collaborating with Sudan to contain the spread of the coronavirus. Let's have more details of that in this report.
The meeting between Chinese doctors and Sudanese health officials lasted around 2 hours. Sudan reported the first case of COVID-19 in March. Now with over 5,000 cases, the country has the highest number of the confirmed cases and deaths in East Africa.
We've been facing some challenges because of a new kind of an outbreak. We're moving now into expanding our testing strategy and also look into the impact of the mitigation strategies that we have been through.
Chinese government dispatched 20 medical experts to help Sudan fight against COVID-19 this time. We'll continue to provide more medical supplies to Sudan.
Our experts include respiratory, ICU, infection prevention and control, cardiology.
A Q&A session with the two sides focused on more specific issues.
So how the arrangement of this suspect case, waiting in the health facility or waiting at home, or are there any policy for that?
Considering the capacity of the response teams, considering the capacity of the beds, diagnostic capacities, most of our patients are being managed at home.
The team also met with members of the Supreme Committee for Health Emergencies, a national cross-department body responsible for COVID-19 in Sudan. In the coming days, the Chinese experts will visit frontline medical personnel in Sudanese hospitals.
That report in Sudan brings us to the end of this news bulletin, but for more details on this and other stories, you can also log on our website on africa.tv. Many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching and bye for now.